Okay, so when we're ordering fractions, there's a lot of different strategies we can use. We can find common denominators, we can draw pictures, we can think about where they might fall on a number line and help us order that way. We can also use things like fraction tiles. When we are working with ordering, some of the easy questions to think about are, is the fraction closer to 0, 1/2, or 1/2? And those three benchmark fractions, those benchmark numbers, can really kind of help us to figure out where these might fall on the number line. So the first thing I usually look for is to see if any of my numbers are equal to 1/2. And I notice that I see 4/8 here. I know that 4 is half of 8, and if I were to simplify this by dividing both by 4, I would get 1/2. So I know that 4/8 is right here. The next thing I start looking for is numbers that are closer to 0 or less than 1/2. So 9/10 is definitely more than 1/2. 3/5 is more. 1/6 is less because 3/6 is 1/2. And 1/3 is also less. So let's start with 1/3 and 1/6. When I'm comparing 1/3 and 1/6, sometimes drawing a picture can help me see which one is bigger. It's important to make the two fraction bars the same size when you're comparing. So this would be 1/3, and this would be 1/6. So I can see by comparing that way. I can also think if I had a candy bar and I was sharing it with 3 people, I would get 1/3 of the candy bar. If I had a same size candy bar and was sharing it with 6 people, I would get 1/6 of the candy bar. And I know that if I'm sharing with less people, I'm going to get a bigger piece of the candy bar. So that lets me know that 1/3 is definitely bigger than 1/6. So I can kind of put 1/3 here. I know 1/6 is less. So these 3 are done. Now looking at 9/10 and 3/5. Again, I'm going to think about 1/2 as my benchmark. If I'm thinking about 1/2, I know that half of 10 would be 5/10. Half of 5, I know, is 2.5 out of 5. I can look and see that 3/5 is a little bit more than this, but 9/10 is a lot more than this. So I can compare that way and see that 9/10 is going to be bigger than 3/5. So that's one way to kind of think about it. You can also use common denominator methods. So for example, 9/10 and 3/5, I can rewrite 3/5 so that it has a denominator of 10 by multiplying by 2 and by 2. And I can see that 6/10 is smaller than 9/10. I can do the same thing with 1/3 and 1/6. I can rewrite 1/3 so that it has a denominator of 6. 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2. And I know that 2/6 is bigger than 1/6. So it doesn't really matter which method you use. Really, you just want to use whatever works for you. Pictures, common denominators, number lines, however it works. So go ahead and do example problems. Now I forgot. 3 and 4. And then come get them checked by me.